We're moving on into section 2 of Mod 9 and going straight into area of circles. So we just talked about circumference, and circumference is a distance. It's a length. Think of wrapping string around here and then laying it out flat. So today we're going to move on and conquer area. So how do I find the area of circles? So first of all, let's make sure we understand what we mean by area. So last year, I believe in 6th grade, you focused a lot on parallelograms, triangles, maybe even some trapezoids. And so what area means is now we are trying to figure out how many square units it takes to cover some sort of surface. So even though a circle is a two-dimensional object, when we go around the outside and lay it flat, that's just one dimension. When we get into area, now we're measuring in square units. So let's put it this way. The number, that's just supposed to be an R, the number of square units needed to cover some surface. A surface, I'll say it that way. These kind of problems that you're going to see today are things like we're going to paint the wall, we're going to put carpet on the floor, we're going to cover maybe a tabletop with some sort of tablecloth fabric, something, countertop, and putting new laminate on something. So all of these have to do with covering it. And again, let's make sure we label things. Of course, we have radius. And then when we have the segment that goes all the way from one side of the circle to the other and through the center, that's your diameter. The formula for area is pi, again, times the radius squared. Now, I often like to rewrite it this way. So I'm going to put a big old or here. And just so that we don't confuse this with circumference at all, I write it this way. Pi times r, like pirate. Mainly because that will emphasize that I need the radius. I put the radius number in there twice, but I'm not doubling it. I'm multiplying it times each other. So that's what makes it a little different computation. Also, my units will always be square units. So if it's inches, it's square inches. If it's centimeters, it's square centimeters. Think of little graph paper, that you're covering something with. So let's take a look at a few examples here. All right. And again, over on this question part, I'm just going to write pi r, pi times radius times radius. A circle with a radius of 14. Here we go. There's my radius. It's 14. If I asked you to leave pi as pi, you would think this. Well, I have to take pi times 14 times 14. And when you calculate that, holy mackerel, this ends up being 196. That's what 14 times 14 is, times pi. My units, what am I in centimeters here? So I'm going to say square centimeters. I abbreviate it that way. I know that some people come over and put the units like centimeters to the second power, but I've noticed sometimes students get a little sloppy and they move that exponent in by the number, and that's totally dangerous. So I just abbreviate it this way, square centimeters. Now, again, sometimes, because this is kind of hard to imagine how big this is when we leave pi as that symbol, we can use one of the two approximations. So let's try that. Take 22/7 times 14 times 14, or times that 196, since we already know that. When you grab your calculator and crank that out, and again, this is approximate, we should end up with exactly 616 square centimeters. If I asked you, go ahead and use 3.14 instead, so let's do that, then you would just take that handy dandy calculator, say 3.14 times 14 times 14, okay? And when you do that, you'll notice I'm going to get something really close to 616, usually just a skosh less, because this estimation of pi is a little bit bigger. It's 3.1428, I think, and this is just 3.14. 44. There we go. Square centimeters. All right. Today, your numbers, you're going to be basically doing a lot of the same type of operations, but you're going to be using the different formula, the area one, pi times radius times radius. Okay. I'm going to cross the middle one out here simply because this one as a decimal, I would either typically just use the pi symbol, or I would use 3.14, 3 and 1400ths as the estimation. Now, take a look at this one. I put a circle there so you can draw and see what you've got. This one says that the diameter is 3 3/10 feet. However, you have the diameter. And looky here. We need the radius in order to do this computation. So the first thing you should do is take 3.3 and divide it by 2 so you can figure what just the radius is. So grab your calculator and do that. Okay. In fact, while you're doing that, I'm going to make sure I've got mine up here. Oh, maybe I don't have it up and handy. I'll get mine up electronically here. Calculator. And man, with all these decimals, I am super, super thankful that we have the calculator to help us with this computation. Blah. Otherwise, it'd be pretty nasty. I can tell you that. All right. So take 3 3/10 and divide it by 2. And that should give us 1 6500ths. Okay. So back here, I know my radius is 1 6500ths. So if I went to calculate using pi as pi, the Greek letter, I'd have to take 1.65 times 1.65 and then calculate this out. All right. So when you do that, and I trust that you are perfectly capable of entering that in on your calculator, we get this long, nasty decimal. Holy Hannah. We get something like, I'll change color here, 2.7225 times pi. Ugh! Normally I'd say would round this off, but I'm just going to leave all those decimals there for right now. Okay. And this is in square feet. Square feet. Okay. Let's say I say use 3.14 as your approximation. So you're going to go 3.14 times 1.65 times 1.65. Holy Hannah. Watch what's going to happen here. All right. 3.14 times 1 6500ths. Now, you could type times 1.65 again. You can certainly do that. Some people might notice that, hey, I could, since it's 1.65 squared, you could actually just hit the x squared button for the radius part and then hit enter. And take a look at what we've got here. 8.54865. 8.54865. 8.54865 square feet. Square feet. Wow, that's a whole lot of decimal going on there. Alrighty. All right, let's take a look at a couple of these. And then I'm going to turn you loose on your assignment, because basically it's just making sure you use this formula, use the radius, label it in square units. All right, are you hungry? Because I'm looking at these biscuits here. And it says we're cutting the biscuits in circles. The biscuit cutter has a radius of 4 centimeters. So you know you have R is 4. Okay. It says find the area of the top of the biscuit once it's cut and use 3.14 for pi. So to find area, we are going to use 3.14 for pi. That's why I made this approximately. And we're going to take it times our radius squared, or our radius times the radius, which is 16. Grab your calculator and crank this out. I know my answer is going to be in square centimeters. Label that and figure this out. 16 times this, that'd be 48. So it's going to be more than 48, probably closer to 50. And sure enough, 50 and 24 hundredths. Boom, there's your answer. All right, take a look here. Ooh, gosh, with all the snow, a pool sounds like an awesome idea right now. This pool has a radius of 10 feet, okay? So it's kind of a nice big one. What's the area of the surface? So like if we wanted to find a cover that would just fit that top, that's the kind of how much material we would need to get if we're talking about that. And then we'd probably even have to add on so it would go over the edge. Area is approximately 3.14, that's pi, times radius times radius. Hey, hold on. You don't need a calculator. Good grief. 10 times 10 is 100. And when I multiply this number, 3.14 times 100, that basically just moves the decimal point 2 places to the right. Shazam. There you go. 314 square feet. Cool. In the summary box, let's do this. Area is always pi times the radius squared. Make sure that you have the radius, not the diameter. And the big thing I want you also to remember here is that your units must be square units. So I'm just going to write square units on there. We don't have to have a ton of words. All right. In Schoology, take a look at your assignment or check the whiteboard in the front of the classroom if you're at school. And as always, make sure you're using your calculator, round appropriately, and put your units in. Good luck, and may the force be with you.